Share screen. Okay. Window. All right, this one. Do you see my screen right now?
Hold on, please, 1 second. And add to the stream. And it says joined. Okay. One moment, please.
Yeah, sure. Take your time.
Okay. Here is your screen. But if you don't mind, Si Mohammed, before that, I would like to give a very short introduction about you, if you don't mind,
Yeah,
for our guest to get an idea who is Si Mohammed Kharbash,
sure.
a
Hmm.
doctor and is a PhD. Before that, we would like to thank you very much, for joining us today. And Si Mohammed, as I said, is an educator, researcher, and the editor of Educators Technology. He's a former K-12 teacher with nearly 2 decades of teaching experience across different K-12 settings. Si Mohammed is currently teaching curriculum and technology integration at Mount St. Vincent University. He is the author of Teaching with AI, Practical Strategies to Integrate AI in the Classroom, and co-author of the AI Turn in Academic Research and the BERA framework for pedagogical integration with Dr. Jonathan Woodworth. His work focuses on AI literacy, assessment in the age of AI, and practical classroom applications of educational technology. You can read more about Si Mohammed and his research if you simply click on medkharbash.com. You will have more detailed information about Si Mohammed. And yes, thank you very much. Now the floor is yours, Si Mohammed, and welcome again, and thank you once more, for accepting our invitation and sharing your knowledge about AI and expertise in teaching in general with our guests. Thank you
Thank you
very much.
very much. Thank you very much, Silarbi, for this very generous introduction. Uh, yeah, I'm always happy when I get these invitations from my colleagues in Morocco. I am Moroccan. I love to take part in the discussions going on in Morocco around education and now AI. I used to teach in middle schools in Morocco. That's when I first did in 2002, in 2003, before I migrated to Canada. Uh, Now I teach curriculum and technology integration in Mount St. Vincent University, and we do a lot of work around AI and its integration. And so the students we teach at the Faculty of Educations are going to be teachers in Canadian public schools. And so we have a lot of discussions about how AI can be applied throughout the Canadian K-12 system. And so part of the work we do is research. And we have developed a framework for integrating technology in education, me and my colleague at the Mount too. It's called the BERA, you mentioned it, Selabi, and it's a framework for helping teachers integrate AI into their classrooms. And it's now being in press with the Toronto University, and it will be soon published. And yeah, that's just a brief background about me. Uh, and today I'd like to talk to you and share some of the research we do and some of the strategies and tips we talk about with our students and with also with the teachers we work with in North America and also in the Middle East, and share some of the insights with our colleagues there in Morocco. And so, if you feel like, I don't know how the stream thing here works, so Silarbi, you might help us along the way, but I would really love to have questions along the way if somebody has a contribution or a some sort of feedback while I'm talking, you're welcome. I love to have this kind of interactive back and forth discussions and not just me talking all the time. But if the nature of the platform we are now using allows only this kind of format, me talking and then later on we discuss, that's fine as well. So I just don't want to put you to sleep for 30 minutes just listening to me. Okay, so the topic I choose to talk about is strategies to help people, to help teachers integrate AI into their teaching. And the main points I want to talk about mainly is, first, I would like to talk about the notion of AI pedagogy, what it is and why it's important that we talk about AI pedagogy first. And then I'd like to talk about the AI use classroom agreement. This is basically a set of informal kind of rules that we sit together with our students about how we're going to use AI in our classroom. And then number three, we're going to talk about assessment in AI mediated context. And, I think we talk a lot about assessment here, and we say this is the big elephant in the room, because if any area in education that has been hit the hardest, it's the assessment and testing area, because teachers are complaining a lot about students using AI to do the work. And so we will talk a lot about assessment, and I will talk about mainly about this concept of validity. And then I will share a few resources with you. So everything you see here, you will have access to resources, to activities if you want to. I have some guides that I put together either by myself or with the work of other researchers, and I will share those resources for you to use in your own professional development as well. And so let's start with the first point, which is AI pedagogy. And so why? In the workshops I do with teachers here, most of the time when I do an informal kind of survey, and I ask them, what do you expect? I would have done the same thing with you, have we Zoom or something else. So for the question, I asked them, what do you expect from a presentation or a workshop on AI for teachers? And most of them, they mention some kind of, they want to learn about the technology. They want to have access to the tools. And so we have kind of observed there is a very big concern about the tools, and a lot of teachers, they just assume that AI is only about tools. And as teachers and educators, we do want to shift this focus from simply a concern with the tools and the platforms to a concern with pedagogy. And that's why we would like to start with an AI pedagogy. Now, the step number one, if we are going to use AI effectively in our classroom, is to work on our AI pedagogy. By this, we mean we have to put a very structured, well-defined plan for our use of AI in our instruction. And for this, there are two starting points. As I said, if we start with the tools first, if we're just going to say, okay, which tool should I use with this lesson? Then that's the wrong question. So the right question is, what are the learning goals that my lesson targets? What are some of the activities that I'm going to use in this lesson to make sure that students understand the learning goals? And only after that, I'm going to talk about AI. And so if we start with the tool, the focus is in technology. But if we started with the learning, then the focus shifts to pedagogy. And this is well documented in the learning sciences. There is this framework. I'm pretty sure some of you would already be familiar with it. It's called backward design. And it's a part of the work, a general kind of theoretical movement called understanding by design. And it's by Wiggins and Mike Teig. There is this book called Understanding by Design. If you Google it, this is a really very good book, especially now. It was written in 2005, but it's just as relevant right now that AI is disrupting the way we teach and the way our students learn. It's just more relevant now than when it used to be before. And so the backward design framework, what it is. So we have the word backward. So meaning we start with the learning goals first. So we start with the end first. We start with what we want our students to learn. That's why it's called backwards. So we identify the outcomes, the knowledge, the skills, the competencies that we want our students to learn from a particular lesson or unit. And then number two, in stage two, as I said before, we come up with, we determine what is an acceptable evidence, what will count as evidence. For instance, what are the things that we expect our students to provide us after we have taught the lesson that counts as an acceptable evidence that they have understood what we taught them. So that's the number two. And then number three, that's where we talk about planning activities and learning experiences. It is at this stage, it's number three, that we're going to talk about things that are going to help students improve their learning and their understanding. And so we have already done the pedagogical part ourselves. And now part of that is activities. And then here we talk about AI and technology in general. But since AI now is everywhere, so we better use the word AI. But I mean by AI, any kind of technology. So at this stage, let's say we're going to say now which kind of AI tool I'm going to use that will help my students understand what I'm going to teach them. And then you make your decision. If AI is going to help me, then fine, then we move forward. If AI will not add any addition, then I better stick to a non-AI teaching environment. Now, if we decide that AI has a place in our lesson, then we move to the next step, which is setting the boundaries, which means I'm going to give you an example here with an essay. Let's say I'm going to teach an argumentative essay. Now, the first thing I want to do is identify the learning goals that I want my students to learn. For instance, I want my students to be able to build a clear claim, to be able to support their claim with evidence and be able to provide counter arguments and be able to organize their ideas coherently. So these are all the goals that I want my students to achieve by the end of the lesson or during the lesson. And now, number two is evidence of learning. So what is an acceptable evidence of learning in a lesson about argumentative essay? For instance, I want students to be able to, for instance, write a coherent essay or a coherent 3-paragraph or a thesis statement, or I just want them to provide me with a detailed outline of how an argumentative essay would look like. So these are all kind of the output that I want my students to provide me as evidence that I have understood that. Now, number three is the plan activities. Now, when I'm planning activities, I'm going to think about the learning experiences and the engagement that I'm going to provide to students in order to help them understand the learning goals. And one of them is, as a teacher, as I was planning these steps, I was thinking, okay, for this lesson on argumentative essay, maybe AI can help me. And that's when I make the decision to include AI. Now, AI can help me, but how can it help me? For instance, let's say I'm thinking about ChatGPT or Claude or any other mainstream chatbot. I said, okay, maybe for this lesson, I'm going to use ChatGPT. I'm going to ask students to use the help with ChatGPT. Now, how can AI help my students learn the learning goals that I put forward in my lesson? For instance, for ChatGPT, and for this particular example, I might ask students to use ChatGPT as a feedback provider or as a debate opponent, or as a counter argument generator. So they bring their arguments, they use AI to have some sort of feedback on their arguments, to debate with AI. So they are engaged in this back and forth with AI to develop their own argumentative essay. Now, here AI is helpful, but again, we are not going to stop at this. If we are just going to say to students, well, you're permitted to use AI to help you with certain parts of the essay, then this is broad. We need to set boundaries around AI assistance, because if we don't, put boundaries around this assistance, then we end up with a very big problem, which is a validity problem that I'm going to talk about. So we only want students to use AI at a certain capacity to handle the activities that we want them to handle. Are we going to be sure that they don't bypass our boundaries and use it in ways that, or misuse it in ways that we don't want to? Yes, there is always this possibility, but we do have to set clear boundaries around how they're going to use AI in a particular activity. For instance, in argumentative essay, and I do it with my own students too. So I would tell them this is how this is what is accepted in AI assistance, and this is what is not. So, for instance, argumentative essay, I would accept you to use it to help you out, kind of debate with it, change ideas, generate outlines, but I would not accept you to use AI to generate an essay and share it with me. So that's all about now AI pedagogy, and I would come back to it later on. But I would like to move on to other points which all come together into this AI pedagogy. And number two is building a classroom AI agreement. And this is connected to the boundaries we talked about around AI assistance. And at the start of each class or each semester here at the Mount, what we do is we have this kind of discussion with our students. My first class with my students, I always have these group discussions with them around AI. And so we have kind of conversations about what they think about AI in this course and how are they going to use it. And then I would ask them what is misuse of AI in their opinion, what counts as a malignant use of AI, how would we address if somebody misuses AI in this. And then I would share with them some ideas about the assessment they're going to work with in this course. And then I would ask them how would AI help them do the assessment, and how and the cases in which AI would hurt their learning. And so we kind of have this informal discussion, and based on this discussion, we usually end up with putting an agreement. I don't like to call it a policy, because we do have institutional policies like university policy around AI use. And so the word policy, carries this kind of authoritative tone, top-down kind of authority. So I'd like to call it agreement. It communicates this sense of collaboration, and students love it because. And you can be just surprised at the insights they provide during these discussions. And the students themselves, they set the rules for AI use, of course, by my own guidance. So I guide them towards certain rules, and then they discuss them and we set them together. So now students, they know what they are expected from them in kind of AI use. Because here is the problem. If you don't have this discussion with students, then you leave this gray area where they don't know whether to use AI or not. They don't know your own perspective on AI use. And so we need to create this shared understanding with our students around AI use and having an agreement. And I do have some templates that I will be sharing with you in the resources section that you can use with your own classroom, from middle school, primary, high school, and ever higher ed, to help come up with an agreement with students. There are different ways to do it. One of the ways high school and middle schools, we've been working with high school teachers, we've been using this one here. It's the traffic light framework. And it's based on the research of Roux and Furst about the AI scale assessment framework. And this framework is very clean, very minimalist. And you just say where there's the green part is where you are allowed to use AI. And you discuss with your students, okay, what's the green part in our course where we would be using AI? What's some of the activities, the practices, the assessments where AI? And we have a discussion, like, for instance, we say, if you're fine to use AI to brainstorm ideas. You're fine to use it for grammar checking, check your language, generate visuals, etc. Then we have the yellow part is where you need to use AI with caution. And again, we discuss certain scenarios where they have to be very careful, especially, for instance, creating outline, generating summaries of text. For instance, if I assign them a PDF to read and they generated using AI, it's acceptable, but in the yellow area, meaning it's acceptable, but you need to read the PDF or the reading assignment I provided you. It's okay if you generate a summary, but you will be asked in classroom about your own understanding of the summary. And then we have the red area where no AI is accepted. Like for instance, you're not supposed to submit to me an output from AI as it is, just copy paste. That's not acceptable at all. And for instance, you're not in certain assignments, you would, for instance, prohibit the use of AI. You come up with these kind of agreements with students, which parts you don't want. It depends on your own teaching context and your own lessons and units, learning goals. So you come up with these things and you have some sort of agreement with your own students. And during the year, when a student breaches the conventions and the rules of the agreement, it becomes very easier to come back and talk to that student. They would say, hey, you were part of the discussion, you were part of the team that come up with this agreement, and now which of these rules you have yourself broken? And they would say, oh, I did this, I shouldn't have done this. And so they are more acceptable of being blamed for doing something that they shouldn't be doing if they took part in putting the rules. So they are more prone to take ownership of their own use of AI. And so that seems to work to a certain extent. Somebody would say, yes, but students use it for, there's always these instances where students would use AI in a bad way. That's going to happen. I think that's a human nature. And part of the things that I talk about with my students, and part of your integration of AI into your teaching is to talk about disclosure requirements. For instance, in certain research projects we do with our students, we ask them to have a disclosure statement at the end, or during, or in the introduction, or anywhere in the research project. They need to tell us how they use AI, which platforms they have used. And in some cases, we also ask for the prompts they used to work with AI in their research projects. So a disclosure requirement is really an important area here. And also disclosure brings transparency, and transparency is very important when you're teaching with AI. Transparency from both the teacher and the student. As a teacher, I do tell my students I use AI to help me with many things, and I show them examples of how I use AI. And so we need to talk openly about using AI, because I can see that some people and some educators, they still have this kind of stigma around AI. If you use AI, you are lazy, you didn't do your homework, or you outsourced your thinking to a machine. That's not always the case. The way we use AI can be different. If we use it in a very responsible, ethical, and efficient way, then that's what we want. What we want is to enhance our teaching and to enhance our students' learning. And so we need to be very open about AI use with our students, and to kind of model this ethical practice with them. And when they see us do that, they do themselves that. They are more, ready to acknowledge the use of AI in their assignments. And let's be real here. Everybody uses AI. So either you be transparent with them and they provide you where they use AI, and in this case, you can discuss it with them, or it goes hidden because they will use it. So it's better that we make it visible so that we turn it into a teaching moment. And then now we talk a little bit about assessments, and this is the big problem in education, the big disruption, I would say, that happened to education because of AI is in the area of assessment. And here is why. Here's why this is a big problem. Now, the traditional way we used to do assessment, and when I was teaching, before AI. So that's how we would kind of frame our assessment. First, we design a task, and then we set certain conditions under which this task will be done. For instance, we define what kind of tools they will use, the resources, the time. So these are the conditions of our assessment or our tests. And then students, they work under usually these monitored and controlled conditions, and they provide a final product like an essay or a research proposal or whatever kind of product. And then as a teacher, I take that product and as an evidence of what the student knows and what the student can do. And from that evidence, I make an interpretive claim, which means I give them a grade. And this claim shows me whether this student has reached this level of competence or not. And so the whole system of this, the whole grading and assessment system rests on this idea that the final product reliably, and look at here, reliably is very important. It's the key word here. It reliably reflects the student's own thinking and decisions and effort. Now, before AI, when a student cheats, they can either get help from somebody, a person who would help them, or they can plagiarize, like use Google to plagiarize something. And in both instances, or there are some services that they're called, I think, essay mails that you pay and they write your essay and stuff. That's not accessible to everybody. And so there is this financial gatekeeper thing. So it's not. But now with AI, this cycle that we have is used in our teaching for many, many years is disrupted. Now, here's what happens. AI can now produce a final product that meet the same surface criteria that our rubrics reward. And the conditions that we used to set no longer control who does the work. For instance, if you ask a student to do some homework, so they take their work and do it at home, so that condition that this work is going to show me that the student did the work themselves is no longer valid. And so the final product will still look very polished and very well written, but it may not tell me that the students have used their own decision-making, their own judgment. And so the interpretive claim that I make based on the product the student provides me is no longer valid. So we can no longer confidently infer what the students can do. So the link between the submission, what students provides me as a teacher, and the competence that I am as a teacher looking for in students' work, this link now is broken because now AI can do that. So before, assessment used to assume that student submission reflects their own thinking. Now AI can do that work for them. So now the question is, how can I know, how can I help underrate the impact of AI on this kind of relation between submission and competence? And this is where I would like to talk about validity. And validity is a concept, a very important concept in the research about testing and assessment. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you would be very familiar with it. And so validity is just whether your assessment actually proves what the student can do. So it asks this question: does the assessment actually tell you what the student can and can't do? Because the validity discussion, it focuses on this connection between what the student provides us and the interpretation we make based on this submission. So if the connection between what the evidence, which is what students provides me, and the interpretation I make based on this, if the connection is strong, then we can trust the grade. So if I give an A grade to a student submission, then that means that the connection between their work and my interpretation is very strong. But if the connection detection is weak, then the grade is just a number. So validity is this kind of bridge between what the students submit and what we claim about them. So if this bridge is strong, then our assessment is meaningful. But if this bridge is weak, then our grades are just guesswork. And this is the problem of validity that many researchers, including the dozen research. I have some papers I will be sharing with you if you want to go deeper about the problem of validity and assessment in the age of AI. Very interesting, really research work here. And let me share with you this problem of validity using the same example of the argumentative essay I talked about earlier. Now, let's say you're a teacher and you have an argumentative essay lesson you want your students to work on. Now, number one is the rubric. So you would work on a rubric. And in that rubric, you would put the criteria that students need to meet in order to get the grade and in order to prove the competencies that you want to see in them. And so, for instance, for an argumentative essay, one of the competencies is I want my students to provide a clear claim, and I want them to provide relevant resources or sources, and then to show strong evidence. You can come up with a whole list of the competencies that you want your students to show in their work. Now, the problem, AI, as I said, can do that in seconds. And then the strong product that the students provides me, like a polished essay, is no longer a valid evidence. So now, does the essay now shows you that the student really selected the sources themselves? Does it tell you anything about the argument they have built? Did they build it themselves? Or does it make your interpretive decisions very valid? These are big questions about assessment now with the use of AI. And so the claim fails because you grade a student, you give them a good grade, but the grade, which is the evidence, it cannot support the claim you make. If I give you a good grade based only on the product you provide me, and now that AI can, and we have a third party that can do that product for the student, then if my grade is based mainly on that product, then there is a problem of validity. And so because I ended up evaluating something that is not really there. So I evaluated simply the product, but I don't know whether students have really developed those competencies. And now, why validity is important, why we need to talk about validity is important, because there is this conversation now around AI, and a lot of discussion is about cheating and detection, and a lot of teachers are concerned with how can we detect students' use of AI, and how can we stop them and ban them from cheating. We can't do that at all, because we have learned from our experiences with EdTech and that cheating is a very mainstream thing, and there are always people who are going to cheat, whether you want it or not. And so, but the problem here is, even this discussion, the focus on cheating and detection is, I think, the wrong place to start with. So validity, what validity does is it shifts this problem of AI use from cheating and detection to a problem of assessment design. Now, let me ask you this. If I provide my students with an assessment, the same assessment, for instance, the same test I used before AI, when I was teaching, let's say in 2007, I say to students, okay, write an essay about, this topic. And they tell them, okay, you have 3 days, bring me back the essay. If I use this as an assessment, and then the student uses ChatGPT to write the essay for them and brings it back to me as their work, then whose problem is it? Is it the problem of the student doing the cheating? It is, for sure, an integrity problem, yes. But is it their problem alone? Is it the problem of AI? Is it the problem of the teacher who uses an assessment that used to be effective before, but now, given the new environment, this kind of assessment is no longer alone valid? So I mean alone, because it is still very important, but if we use it alone as the sole determiner of students' mastery of learning, then this is a problem of assessment design. So we need to work on our assessment design. We can't use the same assessment before AI and use them now that AI is in the picture and say, okay, now it's the problem of students. They are cheating. They are using AI. They shouldn't be. No, we should invest some time to come up with creative ideas to redesign our assessment in a way that makes it harder for students to use AI in a bad way. So that's the idea here. And there are very different strategies that can help us strengthen the validity of our assessment. And one of them is the rebuttal test. So, for instance, when I have an assessment, when I design an assessment for my own students, I would usually take it to Claude or ChatGPT and act as a student and see what kind of answer that the chatbot would provide me back. And then I would go through the answer and see whether the chatbot has really demonstrated learning without intended competence. And then that's called rebuttal test in the literature of testing. And so this, it's kind of a stress test where you kind of in advance test how students, if students use ChatGPT to work on this assessment, what they would get back. And then based on that response from ChatGPT, sometimes I would go back, redesign some parts of the assessment. And, it just provides you at least with a window into what you would expect. And let me tell you this here about this. One of the activities I use with my students is I would just write a topic, come up with a topic. Like, let's say we're going to talk about AI literacy. And in the classroom, we have laptops. Everybody has their own laptops. And then I share with them the topic of AI literacy. And then I tell them, okay, use ChatGPT now, right now. Use ChatGPT in groups of 2. Use the same topic to generate an essay, 4-paragraph essay about AI literacy on this topic or any other topic. And then I give them something like 5 minutes. They generate their essays using ChatGPT. And then in group, we discuss these outputs they get. Each group, they read the output and then we discuss. So what we end up with is we see how the same ideas are being repeated in the same essay. So if everybody uses ChatGPT to help them with this assessment, then I would have 15 answer almost the same. What is different is just the language. And so I explain to them, if you want to have an advantage edge over other students, and if you want to enhance the chances of you getting a good grade in my class, then you don't want to rehearse the same ideas that others are also rehearsing because you got them from AI. How about you take a little bit of help from AI and use your own ideas? Those are the ideas that I would not be able to see in other students. So when I see the same ideas being repeated in the same assignment, I know that they all use this one. So this is just a kind of activity that shows them that if they use AI, they're gonna end up just their work is gonna look similar to everybody else, and they need to change that. And define what the assessment is meant to prove about the student, not just what the product should look like. Again, all about competencies. Now, name the conditions clearly. When you put an assessment, you want to clearly say under which conditions this assessment is going to be taking place. What are the tools that I allow? How much assistance is permitted? So these are all within the conditions framework. And then we have to build in evidence of the student's thinking process, not just the final product. I talked about this here. We want to make students thinking visible. And I will share some strategies of how we can do that in the next slide. And then check your rubric. Always make your rubric reward judgment, not just the final product. And then you can shift the question, is this good, to how can I verify that this student did the thinking? And so just very quickly for time, I'd like to have some discussions with you and just some of the strategies to strengthen the assessment. Some of them I use them myself in my own assessment, like this one here. It's called metacognitive checks. Students, and one of the things I ask my students is to write reflective memos or reflective notes. When I ask them to work on a research project, I am not only grading the final product or whatever they have written, but I also ask them to write a reflection on that product they have written. So that provides a metacognitive practice for them to think metacognitively about the work they have just produced. If they have used AI in that reflective note, they need to show me how they used AI, what kind of feedback they got from AI, what feedback from AI they accepted, and what feedback they rejected, why they rejected this feedback, why they accept. So this kind of engagement, intellectual engagement with the output of AI, I want to see it in a reflective note, and I grade both the final product and the reflective note as well. And also require process documentation. Some teachers I know, they use this process here. They ask students to submit not only the final product, but also the draft, the outlines, the revision logs. If they use like Word or Google Docs, they need to provide the history of their engagement with the material. This can be a lot of work for teachers, for sure, but at least this is one way of making it harder for students to conceal their AI. And then the oral defense. What I do in my classes in certain assignments is I would ask students to provide a written output, and then in classrooms, they have something like 20 minutes for each, or 5 minutes, or 10, depends on the classroom size. And then they have to present to their students the work, or this is usually when the assessment is about high stake assessment. And low stake assessment, like formative assessment, that's not a big problem. But for these high stakes assessments, I always want students to provide me with a written feedback and then an oral feedback. And then there is the ask for source justification, design choice, based tasks, split product from reasoning, peer feedback loops. This is also another activity I use with them. Like I ask them to share the work they generated with each other, and they provide feedback to each other. And then they go to AI and ask for feedback, and they compare the feedback of AI with the feedback of their students, and they write their own final product and tell me which feedback they have accepted, why, and these kind of discussions around the feedback. And so these are only parts of the ways we can rethink about the design of our assessment to make it hard for students to conceal their AI use, and not only to make it hard, but also to help them think visibly. So what we want now that AI is part of our teaching, what we want is to see how students arrived at a certain outcome, at a certain product. We don't want just the product. We want the whole process and their thinking. So that's the focus here. So here is just some guides and resources that I've created, and I can share with you the link that you can use. You are free to use them in your own teaching. And also I'll be happy to, if you have any questions or any concerns or feedback, we'll be back to you, Mr.
Mohammed, thank you very much, for this, say, let's call it, a kind of a academic, theoretical, background, and let's say framework for using the AI, starting, from the design. And because mostly when we think about AI here in Moroccan school, immediately we are thinking about how can I make the best of AI as a teacher? How can AI help me, let's say, design my lesson plans, create activities, deliver, effective lesson plans, or time-saving, activities, and all of these things. But again, here, Morocco has recently, started to talk about AI integration into companies, into business, economy thing. I mean, the or sadly, the school remains the lost, sector where we can see these kind of high technology is being, taken seriously. And as you mentioned in your presentation, sometimes when we just don't reconciliate with the fact that everyone is using AI, including students and ourselves, we just, well, come on, secretively, doing that, and students are doing it, behind our backs, and we are doing again using AI,
Everybody's using it.
Everybody's using it, but no one is claiming it or things like that. But
exactly,
we would love to make everything transparent. Here are my limitations. Here are the limitations of myself as an educator to use AI, and these are the resources. These are the tools that I can make use of to facilitate my teaching and everything like that. So I would like to bring everybody into the scene. If you don't mind, please turn on your cameras and prepare your own questions. First, we will start with how are you using AI in your daily practices as teachers? Second, what exactly were you expecting to get from this presentation from Sir Mohammed? And yeah, to be honest with you, Sir Mohammed, whenever we heard the word workshop, we're expecting things to take with us. Some some resources, some documents, something that made my life.
That's why I put that's why I put
very
so I put resources there.
Great. Please, Huda, you are invited to go online. Please turn on your cameras. If you don't mind, I will bring everybody to the
just gonna share quickly the resources link here in the chat.
You can share it on the chat and they will create a link for that. Zainab, Si Mohammed Amin, and Siham. Please turn on your cameras if you don't mind. Come on, Si Abdel Fattah. Hello, everyone. Are you still there?
Huda said 1 minute, please.
Okay. Yes, this is the link. 1 minute, please.
So instead of just sharing the tools and stuff, I put it in a link there, and they can have access. It's everything, and there are PDF documents there, and guides, and they're gonna be helpful in their planning of AI and stuff like that.
And for those who would like to purchase the book, you just screen the QR code, and it will take you to Teaching with AI. It's, I guess, one of your recent publications, Mohammed. Right?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so Sharafdin, are you there? Okay, Siham is Huda is here. Welcome, Huda. If you'd like to have a question or anything that would enrich this conversation, please feel free to do so.
Good afternoon.
Sir Abdel Fattah, we are waiting for you.
So I truly appreciate this opportunity, Mr.
Mohammed.
To discuss such as an important topic about the AI, especially in education today, is becoming a part of our students' world. So this conversation is very valuable for us. My question is, sometimes we are making some mistakes in the AI. Do you have any advice for us to use it in a good way?
Yeah, so
hallucinations, we call them.
Yeah, right. Hallucinations. These chatbots, they hallucinate a lot. They make wrong answers. They seem right, but they are wrong. So the way we've been using it with the teachers in K-12, like in middle school and high school teachers, like we're helping them how to use AI, for instance, to plan their lessons. And we're always asking them to upload whatever they have about their lesson, because AI, the more context you provided, the better answers you give it. So if I am going to teach, for instance, I have a unit on present perfect grammar or anything, I would go to AI and upload whatever I have about that unit and provide context to AI. Say, I am a grade this and this teacher. This is the unit. This is the content of the unit. If I have a rubric, I would share it with AI. So the more context I provided, the better it becomes and understanding my own teaching needs. And so, for instance, when I upload those materials, I would say, okay, now based on the materials I uploaded to you, please come up with a creative activities to teach this and this and this. And then it would provide you with certain activities. You go through them and see which ones are working. And then it would say, please, I have students who have kind of special needs and I need to address this one with them. How would I do this activity to students who have this problem or this grade skill capacity? And so, it really does a very good job providing you with a very customized teaching materials. But again, at the end, you have always to go through the materials, make sure they are fine and accurate. And so it does a very good job helping you with coming up with ideas. Like I see one teacher, I love how they use it with their own students in the reading. They take the same passage, but provide it to ChatGPT or to Claude or to School AI, all these other platforms, and then they would turn it to a very adaptable reading level to that student. And for instance, here in some classes, I see teachers, they teach students, immigrants from Mexico, and they speak Spanish. And so what they do is they use ChatGPT to translate certain parts to students or to create activities which take into consideration the Mexican culture. And so that's really very creative. And so there's all these creative ways of using AI to help you design your lessons.
All right, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you very much, Si Mohammed, for this comprehensive, answer. And I am still, waiting for the rest of the participants, to share with us their thoughts, their practices, and how are they, practically using AI in their classes?
Mm-hmm.
If they are, otherwise, tell us exactly what are you expecting from AI to help you in your field of teaching.
When I started teaching in Morocco in middle school, my cohort was the first cohort to teach English in Navia Money. So we were the first. Yeah. So that was in 2003. And we were looking so desperately for resources online to teach students. We didn't even have the novels and, the grade, customized grade readings for our students. We have very limited access to internet, very limited access to audio visuals. So we struggled a lot. Now you compare that to the situation right now and how AI can help you. I'm talking about teaching language. It's gonna do an amazing work to help teachers prepare materials for their students, different kinds of materials, from preparing conversations and audio materials like this notebook LM. I'm sure you know about it. It can generate some amazing audio materials that you can use with your students in teaching language. They can hear the spoken language and they can hear anything you want to discuss in a lesson. They can hear it, and you can generate amazing visuals because some students learn best by seeing the visuals. And so AI can help with that. Like some concepts are very hard to understand unless you see them. And this is now available. You can go to ChatGPT, explain the concept, and you generate and things, storytelling, all these activities now can be done with the help of AI.
This is actually very important. And to be honest, see, Mohammed, I guess this is the talk that is being repeated and repeated in everywhere you go. Is either you join the AI wind of change, otherwise you will be replaced by AI. Do you think that AI can replace the role of a teacher? I have been introduced to so many apps that are AI based, like there are so many. I don't really want to
Yeah, there are a lot.
Yeah, but they are interactive. You can talk, you can ask questions, you can ask them to explain to you a certain element of language, and everything that's really a teacher can do. I mean, those apps can, but still, that I would say it. I would call it, the most important part of a teacher would never be replaced, which is the warmth of a teacher, the listening, the care, the understanding of the human emotions, and being able, to let's say to cope to that, differently, unlike any AI agent or GPT.
That's true. So in the business world and in the corporate world, they have this motto that says AI will replace the people who don't use AI, and so somebody who uses AI will replace you. It's kind of, when we look at our sector, education and teaching, and we think, is AI down the road, when it gets way more advanced than it is right now, will it really take the job of teachers? But then when we think about what teachers do besides teaching, because teaching is a very complex, process. We teach the competencies, but it is also this relational, social. You talked about it, Silarbi, the social, emotional, relational aspect. AI can never take that from that, because I deal with the student as a person, as a human being. AI sees me just as a data point. It's not. It doesn't concern. Yeah, it looks at me as a data, as codes, as text. But as I look at my students as a person with a background, and as a teacher, I know the background of my students. I know their situations. I know their looks. I know their hesitations. I can tell when their output is really impacted by whatever going on in their lives, or whatever social, economic, kind of cultural aspect of their life is impacting their performance in the school. And so AI cannot have access to this knowledge. And much of the judgments that we do in our classrooms is based on this very tacit kind of knowledge that we build from the way we interact with these students. We have them. So we have profiles. Now, every teacher, I would say, they have a certain profile about their students. They know them, they know their background, stuff like that. So they expect certain kind of performance from them. So this kind of knowledge is very hard for AI to replicate. And so, yeah, when we talk about AI taking the teachers' jobs, it's going to be very hard, at least for now. There are tutors, online tutors and AI tutors now, and people use them. But teachers are going to be very, they are going to be around for a very long time. At least if AI is going to replace them, then myself, it wouldn't happen in my lifetime, maybe in 100 years time or something, but I don't think it's going to happen very soon.
Yeah, good. Thank you very much. I guess, see Abdel Fattah Borwais, who have been with us, from the beginning of the talk. He's been working with AI agent, building AI agent, to answer to certain business needs. Sir Abdel, are you still with us? Sir Abdel? I guess his microphone is muted.
Sir, I have a question. If you want.
Okay, go ahead. Let's get your question, Huda, and then we will get back now to Sir Abdel Parwais.
You are mentioned, Mr. Mohammed, before that most of the students given the similar answers. So do you think that could overuse an AI affect student confidence in their own ideas and abilities? And how can teachers prevent that?
That's a very important question. You caught me off guard with this. There is now this research on cognitive offloading, and they say that the more students use AI, the more the lazier they become, and it affects their critical thinking, their creative thinking. There is this parts of research going on now, and there are many research papers talking about this one here. But how are we going to stop that from happening? It's I don't know really, but because they have access to AI everywhere, last time I was in Rabat, in Morocco, visiting my family, I have my sister's daughter, and she's only 14 years old, and she was using ChatGPT, asking it about everything. I was really amazed at how familiar and fluent with using ChatGPT, and so there is no way we can stop students from impact of AI on their critical thinking. But that's a very good question, because it is now being discussed that AI is doing some harm to students' cognitive skills. Their abilities to think authentically is really being at a danger. So we are at a cross points where it's very hard for us, because if you outsource everything to AI, it becomes very... Now, myself, if I'm writing myself, when I write now with no grammar checker, I find it very hard. Sometimes I forget how to write assessment. I said, oh my God, I have to, because you're using a lot of, this technology. You even getting, you forget how things are anymore.
It's so make people limited.
Yeah, yes, in a certain sense it does. And that's why some teachers here, some parents, they come to the school and they complain to teachers in the elementary school. They said, we don't want our kids to use AI, like kids in grade 1, 2, 3, 4. They said, I don't want my kids to use AI. I want them to use their brains. Why AI for kids? That's a big problem. Some parents are really resistant to the idea of AI being used in teaching, and for the right reason, because, it can shortcut the thinking that students do. But as teachers, these checkpoints that I talked about earlier, that we need to make it hard for them to use AI. When we give them assignments, we need to focus on the thinking, provide us, and also the oral presentations. Very important that students develop presentation skills, communicative skills in the classroom. How they talk about, even if they write an essay, you still ask them, can you explain to me the main ideas about this essay you have just written? Explain to me, why did you use this source? Why you didn't use that one? What is this argument? Explain to me this argument that you have written about here. And they have to talk to you. So if they use AI, they would have very hard time explaining what they have written to you. And so next time when you provide them an essay and they know they were going to be asked orally in the classroom or in between you and him, they know that they have at least to prepare. And that's what we need.
Yes, and doing more effort. Yes, you are right.
That's right, yeah.
Mohammed, if you don't mind, here is a question that is posted on Facebook. It's by Bob Amigosto. Hello, sir. What AI skills should I focus on as a teacher?
Prompt engineer is very important.
Okay.
if you
yeah, go ahead.
So if you know how to write very well articulate prompts, then you have an advantage of a teacher who does not know how to write good prompts.
Okay.
because it's like this big house, okay, and there are some rooms, some very nice furnished rooms, and they have keys, and there are some very bad rooms in that big house. The people who have the keys to the good rooms are the people who can really prompt good. And so we can have the same lesson, and we can be this two teachers with the same lesson. If I know how to write very well, contextually specific prompts, I can get a very good output from AI than a teacher who comes just and say, hey, I have a lesson on AI literacy, and I need an outline, and I need activities for it. And then the next lesson comes, hey, I'm a teacher, teaches grade 12 in this context, Agadir city in Morocco. My students, I have 22 students in my classroom. Some of them speak good English, some bad. So you provided with more context, you will get very relevant content for the lesson. So working on your prompting skills is very important for every teacher, because the better your prompt, the better output you get from AI. And prompt engineering is a skill itself, because I've written a book on prompting before, and prompt engineering is one of the main skills that we need to develop as teachers to enable us to communicate with the machine. Unless we know how to write them, we won't get really the best out of them.
Thank you very much. And yes, I guess, these are some of the questions, asked on Facebook, and we've got some others on Instagram. So yeah, I really prompt writing and building is an art indeed. This is someone who replied, to what you've just mentioned, Si Muhammad.
And I have a question for you guys, all of you too.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I'll be asking you as well. So how much AI do you use in the school? Do schools allow the use of AI like in the classrooms and stuff, or no?
Can I answer to this question, or I will leave the floor for the teachers? Well, actually, to be honest, we don't have, let's say, an official guideline for using AI. But as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I know, using AI to handle your own homework assignment would be considered as plagiarism, would be considered as cheating. So
any kind of use, or
that's where I am coming to. Any kind of use would be considered as cheating, because first you need to accept AI as a new technology that will enhance learning and teaching in general. So once we are familiar with that, then I guess educators and decision makers will start to limit its own use. It's just like the mobile phones. The first time they appear, they are all restricted and rejected, either at school or in classroom. But later on, we found that we can, for example, I'm speaking about teacher of English, I can make use of mobile phones inside my classroom, and I can have a lot of activities based on mobile phone. So the mobile phone here has become a very important learning tool at the hand of the student. So I could make the best use of it and help students enhance their learning of English. Later on, the government issued certain circulars, let's say, restricting the total use of mobile phones inside the classrooms. And at a late time, the circular said, no, it is not allowed to use it inside the class or inside. You can have it because students may need it, after school to call their parent. to come and pick
Yeah.
them or things like that, or to keep in touch with their families. But as long as you don't use it for whatever reason it is, you are
Don't use
safe.
it.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
we don't take it, for granted that this is something that live with us. We either
Mhm.
cope with it, or others will use it, secretively, or let's say in very manipulative
Mhm.
ways and things like that. So I guess that it's the same case, with AI. We need to be, let's say, fair with ourselves, and
And the training too. The teachers,
exactly.
they need training, because you can they provide training here to all teachers. The teachers, they need, we can't blame teachers because that's something new. Plus, teachers have a lot of work to do. You can't
Sure, sure.
expect a teacher to come at 5, go home. They have kids, some have kids, and they work on their professional development online, looking for things. That's a lot to ask from them. So I think what they do here, for instance, once in a while, they do workshops, they do trainings to teachers, like around AI use. I mean, AI pedagogy, literacy, things like that, to help them at least. And but if you leave teachers like that, it's
Hmm.
like, and then blaming them later on for not being updated about technology and their use, then that's not the correct way. I say there needs to be a lot of help for teachers as well.
Sure, sure. Once we know how to use it safely and, uh,
Hmm.
let's call it, with ethically and
Hmm.
responsibly, then everything, will be fine. I guess it's just how do we use it, which
Yes.
matters. It's just like, the mobile phones right now. They are they are used, by students everywhere, by children, and they are using it, crazily, playing games. And
Hmm.
but if
Hmm.
we teach them the right way to use a mobile phone, it will come in handy, uh,
Hmm.
or it will be used, positively and productively, rather than restricting it at all, and then students, come up with their own ways of using it in very unhealthy or unsafe ways.
Yeah, when ChatGPT was first released in 2022, November 2022, a lot of schools in Canada and America and the States, they banned it, totally banned it, and universities too. Many, they banned using it totally. But then after a few months, they realized that they can't stop the wave of AI, and now they're starting it, accepting it. There are still some schools that are very conservative. It depends from school to school. Some
Hmm.
schools, they provide more freedom to teachers and students. Other schools, they restrict the freedom. They still accept some uses, but they restrict it. But they are moving towards embracing AI in teaching and more. And I think in our country, Morocco, I think that the same thing will happen. Just by time, we will be using more and more AI, because that's a big technology. You can't just sideline it and say it does not exist. There is no way you can do that.
Of of course, that's a really the topic of let's say of these days. It's the topic of fashion. It's the topic of let's say academic, researchers and papers these days. Everybody is trying to learn about AI, about the uses of AI, either for business, for education, for culture, for whatever, sector it is. And I guess Moroccan school would not be a left behind, but
Yeah.
rather we are here, I guess, and we should be ready, to take the challenge of using the AI ethically, responsibly, and let's say, in a very productive way. So, before we conclude, Si Muhammad, I would really love if you can share with the teachers and our guests that are who are watching us on 3 platforms, YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. I would love you to share some practical tools. We know that ChatGPT is for every main task. Claude, the same thing. But I guess there are some AI that are specialized in the field of teaching, like Magic School
Yeah.
or like things like that. Or if I would like to prepare a lesson just tonight, and would be use it tomorrow, and to be fit for my targeted audience, which are my level of student. How could
Mhm.
I do that effectively
I'm
and
gonna
with
write here Carry
Mhm.
Pod. There is this Carry Pod here. It's very interesting. Where I see teachers here using it a lot. We've been
Uh-huh.
trying it with some teachers as well. It prepares lessons with slides and everything, and it is teacher custom. It's made for teachers and by teachers as well. There is this one here. It's called Risk Teaching. This
Risk
is
teaching.
yeah, that's a very another powerful tool that we use with teachers. There is also, you mentioned, oh yeah, there is Diffit is very good as well. So
Mhm.
Diffit, you just Google it. Let me see,
Yeah,
Google it
I
here.
just did that.
Diffit.
Risk
Uh,
teaching. Hmm.
yeah, so that's the one I'm talking about here. This one here is very powerful AI tool that for teachers really liked it. We have tested it with many teachers. It works perfectly well. This one, if you're going, this is my favorite. Diffit is really my favorite, especially in language classes. It can prepare different reading materials and different uh, practice questions and comprehension questions, and adapting readings. It can create lessons based on particular readings. It can also generate slides and visuals based on your lesson, and it can bring them from online sources, not only AI generated. It can also bring them from online sources and provide you with the links to that one. So yeah, we have Risk Teaching, we have CurryPod, we have you mentioned Magic School, we have also School AI. School AI is another platform. We have Twee is another one as well. And so, yeah, and I have here, let me see, there's one. And if you want to know about my favorite AI tools for teachers, here's a guide here. It's a PDF. So I share the PDF there. So it
Okay.
has over, something like 40 AI tools for teachers, just for teachers. So I categorize them according to what you want to do with them. If you want to create presentations, these are the tools that we use. For instance, if you want to create presentations, I have some suggestions like Gamma, like Slice AI. If you want to create podcasts like Notebook LM and Gemini AI, each tool has its strengths and weaknesses, and I have there a very long list of tools that they can try. Most of them, they do provide free access, and they would ask for you to pay after a certain usage. But for a medium usage, it's fine. The free version is already enough for the work we want to do as teachers. So yeah, so if you're looking for some recommendations, I would highly recommend that you check the guide I shared with you in the chat. It has many tools. Yeah.
Oh, good. I will definitely share that. And hold on 1 minute, please. We'll create the QR code, for our guests to check. Yes, you call it, Si Muhammad, the
Huh?
AI for teachers. Yeah. Okay. AI for for
Yeah.
teachers.
The
Okay, show title, that's correct. And then here is the QR. If you would like, to scan the QR Okay, and it will take you directly, to the link of the book.
Okay, good. That's PDF. It's free. It's not
PDF,
paid or
it's a
nothing.
free.
That's
Okay.
yeah. It's a free one. Yeah, there you go, Huday. That's right. Yeah.
Huda is on the. Okay, you can just scan the QR wherever you are, and you will get this free PDF that will walk you through the main, uses of AI. Okay, see Mohammed. Before we move, I guess there is one special guest who just joined us. See Mohammed. Please join us. My gosh. Do you see me? You got me?
Yeah. There was some disruptions in your voice, but I can hear you now.
Okay. So we've got Simedi Bokrab. He is the troublemaker who
No, I'm
used
sorry. I just wanted to join. I'm sorry.
to command questions on Facebook and bombarding us with his own.
No. It's a pleasure.
You are more than welcome to ask questions, directly. And thank you very much for joining. And it's really
thanks a lot. It's really a pleasure to be among you here. Really, it was interesting because I've first seen the announcements about your meeting today. I've been working for 4 hours in the afternoon. I could not hold on myself to come up and meet you here online. Me and my little daughter, she saw her teacher present here and she wanted to say hello. Yeah, thanks a lot. Actually, the topic is really interesting, and Mr. Arbawi, as I've already shared with you something about that. As I told you, that I'm preparing a PhD about integrating AI in the teaching and learning of the EFL teachers in the region of Fes Meknes. So I've prepared a questionnaire, and I've been listening to you, Sir Muhammad, about the way you talked about how AI could be a collaborative learner or partner in our teaching. It could ease the path for everyone. It could make it easy for us. But first of, I thought about how could we prepare teachers first. That's why I've been talking about the preparedness and the availability of tools and the professional development that could ease the path for teachers to integrate the AI tools in their learning, because it's not an easy task to do that. Then we can move on to talk about the students and how they could manipulate maybe their projects and stuff to within the AI, within the platform of AI. But for us teachers, I think we are the first ones to be concerned about the problem. I think it's a little bit tricky because we need to coexist with it. You mentioned Notebook LM, you mentioned Claude and all the other tools. They're really helpful, but still they teach the students how to become a bit lazy, and they take that kind of originality out of their writing and their creative thinking. It kills a lot of skills within the students, the skills that we're trying to develop and improve every day. We're trying to make them learn how to write, how to be creative, and how to think about stuff, not to take it as granted as it is. I think, do you see my point, Si Mohammed? I think it's a bit tricky because the tool, it's a little bit, it's helpful. As we say, as the classical expression that we use, it's a double-edged weapon. Every time we use this stuff, I think that's my point. And I invite everyone here, please, if you could be of big help to me to answer my questionnaire, it would be a great help for me, and I would mention your names, of course.
Sure, thank you. Wishing you the best in your PhD, and if you
you,
need any help or any resources with research, just contact me through my email. If you need access to research papers, I have my institutional access to papers, and if you need anything, you just ask me, and I can share
Thanks a
with you.
lot. It's a pleasure.
Very
Thank you.
proud to hear that you're doing it in Morocco. That's great. Really
Yeah.
nice thing.
Thank you.
And yeah, I was going to say something. Yeah, the questionnaire. If I am concerned with the questionnaire, you think I can just send it to me? I can fill it out for you as well. So
Yeah, inshallah. Okay. Thanks a lot.
no problem. And so the point you raised about the teaching, the workforce, teaching workforce, that they need training, they need to work on themselves first. That's true. That's true. But the problem with AI is we as teachers, we're working within an ecosystem, an economic ecosystem. We want kids when they graduate to be able to have jobs. And now
Yeah.
the job market, they require AI. And so if we don't help them develop these skills of how to use AI, then they would go to the job market where they wouldn't be able to have the skills they need. And so I think that's the only problem right now we have, because some teachers, even here, they say, no, AI has no place in my classroom. And one of the teachers with me in the university, he doesn't like to have AI. He said, I want a free technology space in my classes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so yeah, you have to respect that. You can't do anything. But again, if you're going to look for work, if I have a kid, I don't want him to go to a classroom where the teacher doesn't use AI.
Yeah.
I don't want it. I will change him from that classroom to another one. I want him. Yeah. I want them to have the skills that are required when they find. Yeah.
It's becoming a must right now. It's becoming a pillar in our teaching to get in touch with those apps, especially the Notebook LM. I'm really surprised how it could ease the path for us, because you can imagine books of 500 pages. It could turn them into slides of 10 slides. It's really crazy, and it could turn them also into a podcast. I'm sure that you're familiar with how it is becoming something omnipresent. We can't do without it. And with the teachers who are fighting against, I think it's not a matter of fighting. It's kind of acceptancy, because maybe either you are with or against. But if you're against, why? You don't want, you're in a comfort zone. You don't want the change. The change is coming with you or without you. You're gonna overboard with the change. You're gonna come with us, whether you like it or not. You would not be left behind. That's the point. Yeah.
Okay, see, Mehdi,
that's true.
Here's one of the participants. See, Asghar Anas. He's ready to, or more than happy now to answer your questionnaire. You've got some.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. It's really helping. Thank you.
Okay, I guess our discussion or our let's say webinar comes to an end. Si Mohammed, thank you very much. Si Abdel Fattah Barwis, Huda, Si Bokrab. We have Siham Rafiq with us. Thank you very much. Zainab, she kept silent the whole time. And the rest, thank you very much, for those who are watching us live on Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn and Facebook. You are more than welcome. Thank you very much. And expect more education talks and webinars on really interesting topic that matters. So I would love to say it once more, Si Mohammed. Thank you very much,
thank
for
you very much.
Our invitation.
Thank you very much, really, for
our teachers and guests.
Yeah, thank you very much, Zineb. Thank you. She just wrote there. Thank you very much for everybody. I really enjoyed talking to my colleagues there from Morocco. It makes me feel happy that we exchange ideas, learn from you, learn from me maybe. And so it's always a great pleasure. And if anybody needs anything, want to have questions, resources, anything, just reach out to me through my website, my email, and I will be very happy to provide any resources you need.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, Mr. Larbawi, for doing this. It's really great initiative to engage teachers in these kind of workshops. Wonderful work.
Yeah, unfortunately, the platform allows only for 10 participants, but on the Instagram and Facebook, there have been, a lot who are, following us, and sharing, and
That's
learning
great.
with us, through this talk. It's really great, to have these kind of talks, from now and then. And I will be more than happy, to invite more experts in the field, just like you yourself, Si Mohammed. And
Thank you.
yeah, once more, thank you very much, everybody, teachers, educators, colleagues, everywhere, wherever you are. Thank you so much for
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
joining
much.
us. Okay, so